But you know what? Over half of the book of Revelation is fulfillment of prophecy in the Old Testament. I mean, over half. And to find out what the throne of David here is, you got to go all the way back to Isaiah chapter 22, verse 22. And I'm not going to delve real deep into it, but the prophet comes to the third in charge, and he places him as a palace administrator over King Hezekiah's kingdom. So in other words, this individual was given full authority to run the affairs of the kingdom. The decisions he would make were in place of the king, that the king could be king and he would rule everything. Well, what Jesus is telling us here in Revelation chapter 3 is that he is sovereign. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to him. All things are in his hands. He is the one who is in charge. He has all power. He has all authority. And he goes on to say, I know your works. I know your works completely. I know your works fully. I know. Now, to some people, that's extremely comforting, isn't it? To others, it can be terrifying. He says, I know your works. Behold, I have set before you an open door which no one is able to shut. I mean, once again, this is amazing to me. God set before his church, God sets before us a door that no one can shut. It's a door of opportunity that Jesus himself opens and Jesus himself shuts. Now, the church in Philadelphia, I mean, they were all under all kinds of different stressors. I mean, there was persecution. There was a changing environment. There were earthquakes and there were volcanoes. There was political pressures and political tension. There was tension from outside groups, whether it be the Jews or just regular citizens. I mean, they were in an extremely difficult context. And yet Jesus says, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. My friends, who opens doors? Jesus. Who shuts doors? Jesus. You know, one of my observations are, in our world today, especially in our culture, there are a lot of whiny Christians. I mean, it's so hard. There's so much opposition. I can't do it. Look at what the government's going to do. Look at what all the mean people are doing. I mean, there's so much opposition that we just kind of sit back and we whine. Okay, who opens doors and who shuts doors? Not the government. Not the government. Who opens doors and shuts doors? Not mean people and not opposition. It's Jesus who gives us the opportunities. And it's Jesus who closes the doors. And my friends, he never promised no opposition. In fact, he said just the opposite. He said, in this world you will, not possibly, not could be, not maybe, you will have trouble. But take heart. I have overcome the world. So Jesus goes on to say, I know that you have little power, and yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. I know you have little power. You see, the Christians in Philadelphia, they were under a lot of pressure. There was a lot of outside forces pressuring down on them, getting them to try to deny Jesus, to follow the group, to follow the crowd, to just go along with culture. And Jesus, who sees all things, Jesus, who has all power, says, I know that you have little power. I know that you have little or no influence. But even though you have little or no influence, you've remained true, even in the face of opposition. I mean, little power, but great faith. Little power, but big faith. I think this is what oftentimes you and I face. We view ourselves as being insignificant. We say, God, I've got such little influence over the world around me. I've got such little power. I've got such small resources that God, I feel like nothing. I feel too small or unimportant to be worth consideration. I can't really make an impact in the world around me, so why even try? But Jesus says, walk faithfully. You see this in the letter to Philadelphia? 5 of the 7 churches are being chastised for what they're doing wrong. There's correction that's taking place. Here in Philadelphia, no correction. Jesus is commending them because they were faithful. They kept walking the walk. They hung on. They never gave up. Even in the face of opposition, even with little to no influence, little to no power, they continued to live love, to love Jesus, love people, and serve the world. And God is blessing them because of their faithfulness. Remember the lady in Luke chapter 21? Jesus and his disciples, they're standing on the Temple Mount. And he's watching all these people deposit their offerings in the temple treasury. Walking wealthy people, putting bags of gold in, bags of money in. This little lady who doesn't have 2 pennies to rub together comes up and puts all of them, both of them, into the temple treasury. And Jesus says, look at her. She has given and done far more than all of these others. She gave out of her poverty. She gave her all. She was living faithfully. And God blesses faithfulness. God doesn't bless the amount. God doesn't bless the power or the influence. He blesses faithfulness. So I think one of our greatest dangers, because we view ourselves as being insignificant at times, we view ourselves as not being able to make a big enough impact, that we become apathetic. That we just kind of throw our arms up and we say, well, I can't really do anything about it anyway, so just let it go. I think that's one of the greatest dangers that we face as followers of Jesus. Becoming apathetic in sharing our faith. Becoming apathetic in using the gifts and the talents and abilities that God has blessed you with to make a difference in the lives of someone.